we have to start with, I think, the game of the weekend and go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the number 11 Texas Longhorns defeat the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide 34-24 on the road. This one was very interesting. I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to go. And Texas was the underdog, and they were the +7 on the spread. And so, I took the +7 with Texas because last year was a 1-point game, and that was, after Quinn Ewers got hurt in the first quarter, and Texas came back with Bryce Young on the road, and they get the win. So I was like, I think it's less than a spread game, but Alabama's playing a little bit more of how Nick Saban in the past has played, and so I thought it would be very interesting to see how the game kind of progressed, because I knew that Texas had weapons and they had some improvements on the line, but you're not sure just on the road how they handle that. And it's really tough to beat Alabama on the road. It's tough to beat them at their place. It just doesn't happen all that often. And yeah, here we are, and we're looking up, and not only do they win, but they win by a 10-point game. And it really was a back and forth type of a matchup where Texas pulled away at the end. But I mean, it was very impressive, and Texas deserves a lot of credit for how they played. I was impressed with Quinn Ewers. Really, it felt like one of his big moments, because up until now, it had been a lot of promise, and you had his freshman year that was Ohio State, and then he came back to Texas, and then he played in this game last year and he got hurt, and he's come back from injury, and we're hearing about all these weapons they have, Xavier Worthy and company. And yeah, he just balls out. He goes 24-38, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Adonai Mitchell, I mean, he played really well. He had 3 touchdowns, the transfer from Georgia. So when you have him, Worthy to touchdowns, Sanders at 114 yards, Jonathan Brooks got some very tough yards and got a touchdown. I thought they played really well. They forced Jalen Milroe had to make some plays, and he made a couple mistakes, and that really was the game. And turnovers are really, and how these big games can really go. And you don't really see that all the time from Nick Saban teams. But when they have lost in some of these big games, it's the turnover bug. And I mean, so Texas, I definitely deserve to win, and they're they're a top 4 team right now for sure. I mean, I had them in my playoff prediction, but they deserve all that. I mean, Ewers made he dropped some deep balls in there really well, and I was just really impressed with that. And so the ceiling is up for them. I mean, this was their big test. And now, I mean, I had them in the playoff, and not that I was going to say that they were all the way back, but just more that the schedule really lent themselves to playing really well and having a good opportunity. And now when you pull up the schedule, as I'm pulling it up on my phone, they've got Wyoming next week, and then they go at Baylor, and they host Kansas, and then they had the Red River rivalry, and that's always a tongue twister, in Dallas with Oklahoma. So, I mean, they might lose one to the schedule, just from the nature of a college football season. But even with that, and you win the Big 12 title, I mean, the road is all up for them. And of course, they're going to say 1 week at a time, but this was the big test. We were going to learn a lot about Texas, because it wasn't just the game, is how they played. And even if they lost, it was how they looked in the loss, and how they were going to handle themselves under this pressure in this type of environment. That's very hard you can't really replicate that. I mean, and so I was just impressed with them, and I was impressed with Coach Sark and what he was able to do and get his team prepared. And assistants don't really beat Saban all that much, his former assistant. So there you have it. Texas gets the massive win